Hi, and welcome to College on Planning, where we help families simplify the college planning process. I'm Kristin Clark. I'm a career exploration coach for 16 to 26-year-olds. And I'm here with Bobby Hood, our ACT, SAT go-to guy. Bobby, life is good, right? It's spring, things are looking up. How are you doing out
Absolutely. We
there?
finally started having some warm days. I'm doing great. Yeah, it's beautiful right now.
Yeah. And this is always one of my favorite topics that we talk about is helping parents understand what they need to know about planning for college, because I see so much confusion out there and so many people making this hard, and this
Hmm.
isn't that hard. So today what we're going to talk about is what juniors in high school need to make sure that they are getting done right now.
Yep.
But before we do that, I was thinking it might be a really good quick rundown of here are some of the things that you need to have done before this. And I will also put up the link to the website to the download so that you
Hmm.
families just know, listen in, but you'll have a resource that you can go to download and know exactly what you need to be doing. All right.
Yeah, absolutely. So seniors, right? They're wrapping up their school year, and so those who are like juniors can look at this and see, okay, these are the things that you want to have done at this point, so that you can be right here at the end of March, like getting ready to pick a college and finalize everything.
Absolutely. And in fact, I'm going to put this into the comments right now because I might forget. So let's talk
Sure.
about because we get talking and stuff.
Mhm.
So here's some of the stuff that I'm going to talk about. Kind of we suggest you do fall of or of junior year, just so that you have this under your belt. Number one, start planning for or exploring a career path. That always surprises families, but what I've found over and over and over again is when your kiddo walks into college with an idea of what they want to do, and remember I said an idea of career area, they're going to be much better college students. They're going to feel much more prepared, and they're going to be happier, hands down.
Yeah.
Then also, researching colleges, that should be something that is kind of already done. Don't stress out if you haven't, but we suggest trying to look at that early. To also then take the Clifton Strengths Assessment. And what that
Right.
is it helps people understand the activities that they do so well that it's like breathing to them. And the importance of this, especially at this age, is when my clients get their report, they're like, wow, I am good at stuff. So it's this huge confidence builder that they're like, wow, you know what? I've got something to give. So I highly suggest it. And all the
Hmm.
links are going to be on the handout. And then for parents especially, start thinking about that financial picture. Who's going to be paying for college? That's a really important conversation to have, because you don't want to spring it on these kids last minute and go, oh, by the way, you're in for a couple of years of it, or you're paying for it, or whatever those things are. Have those conversations now. And Bobby, I think a big one is if you don't feel like you can afford to go to a certain college or an out of state college or whatever the thing is, then those are off limits, or you figure out a way to get to those schools through scholarships, through all the things. So have those important financial discussions right up front. What else? You want to talk about winter?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, winter of junior year. And so, if you're a junior right now, these are all things that would have been good to start doing this year during the school year, but you've still got plenty of time now. It's just go back and catch up on this list, right? So far, you can see it's a lot of just thinking ahead, right? So, during the winter, that's when you want to start making your college list. So, if you're a junior and you don't have a college list yet, right? Because, of course, it's going to start with the ones you've heard of, from all your friends and older students, all the places that everybody goes from where you are. But also go and research and look for things that match your Clifton strengths, that match your career goals. Think about unusual places, right? Things that might not immediately occur.
Hey,
And
Bobby,
then
do
you
you,
want
do
to.
you have a favorite resource on that?
I've always used the Princeton Reviews website because they have this really well researched, you know, all these lists of colleges, right? The colleges with the best meals, colleges with the best outdoor activities, colleges with the best clubs, and things like that. And so, yeah, I think it's fun to just go to princetonreview.com and kind of click around. They each college you go to has actual like quotes from students about the college and things like that. So that's my favorite resource.
Cool. I'll put that in the chat too while you're talking.
Yeah, absolutely. And so then other things you want to do is you want to schedule taking the SAT and or ACT, right? You would like to have your score in hand by June of your junior year. So if you're a junior right now and you haven't taken the SAT or ACT, now is exactly the time to start and aim for taking the June SAT or ACT, or if you have to, the July ACT or the August SAT, because you don't want to be fighting with this in the fall. And of course, I do help students with tutoring for those tests. And so go and get the help you need so that you can get your score up, because the days of test optional and test blind, fewer and fewer colleges are still test optional, and really test optional and test blind is really only the case if you have an absolutely top GPA. You need to be very near the top of your class if you want to go without a test. Another thing you want to do is start making spreadsheets, which is pretty lame, but like,
yeah. And when you're talking about, you popped out on us, Bobby, but yeah, this whole idea, everybody was always talking about, you don't have to take the SAT and ACT. Like Bobby said, those days are gone.
Yep, absolutely. And then other things, make a spreadsheet to compare the costs of each college, right? Collegedata.com will give you data about the cost of each college, and that link is listed in our college planning timeline handout that we're looking through right now. And of course, I mentioned SAT or ACT. You got to figure out which test is the better test for you. And right now, we just switched last year to the new digital SAT. Starting next week, the ACT is switching to the new digital version of the ACT. So there's a lot going on there. And if you have questions about trying to figure out which test is better for you, just go to my webpage and contact me. I'll be happy to give you advice about that. And then, that's basically it. Just, make that decision and schedule those tests.
All right. So those are all the things that, we kind of suggest you do that first half of your junior year. And now we're getting into spring. So one of the things that you need to think about is brainstorming on mentors or teachers you love that you can ask for a recommendation letter. So start thinking about who those people would be now. And my suggestion would be, go chat them up a little bit before then you go in and ask them for a favor. So you might want to show them a little bit of love right now. But just start thinking about who those people might be that could write a great recommendation letter for you.
Yeah, absolutely. You don't want to wait till last minute on that, or it won't be nearly as good of a letter as it would have been if you let them start.
And this would be another plug for Clifton Strengths. If you take that assessment, you can also hand that over to your teachers because it has a wealth of information, or your mentors, great information about you and what you're like and places for them to pull different ideas. So it'll be a really kick butt recommendation letter if you include that stuff.
Absolutely. It gives them lots of things to give them something to write about. Yeah, that's great. And also you want to start looking for scholarships and finding where you can do things to reduce the financial impact. And what I see a lot in my tutoring business is students who, they take the SAT or ACT, they get a 26 on the ACT, and they look at the website of, Arkansas or whatever college they want to go to, and they see defined scholarship points where they say, if you are in the top quarter of your class and you score a 29 on the ACT, then that will save you $30,000 or something like that. So many of my students are coming to me just saying, okay, I need to increase my score on the ACT 1 or 2 points. Then I know that my number one school is going to offer me this scholarship, right?
Absolutely. And Bobby,
research for.
Yes. And I want to talk about this point too. I hear people all the time say, I want to get a good score on the SAT or ACT. And I always ask them, what's a good score? Like, what are you basing that on? To me, obviously, if you need X score to get into your college is one, but also what you just talked about to get these assured scholarships, that is so worth the time. I mean, how can you make that much money doing many other things, right? When you're saving
Absolutely.
30,
It's the best
40,
financial,
$80,000.
Yeah, it's the best financial investment you can make is getting that defined scholarship. And yeah, it can save you just piles and piles of money. And it's and a lot of times, if you don't know about these things, it wouldn't occur to you to search for them.
No. And the next thing on our list is we say, look for assured scholarships. And that's a lot of times what you hear them saying. But if you go to the website of the colleges you're looking at and you go to the financial aid or the financial section, you're going to find them. You just have to hunt and peck sometimes to find them. Okay.
Yep. Absolutely.
And then we actually have, reaching out to the people that you've found that you want them to write those recommendation letters. And Bobby, can you talk through like the timeline for everybody to know when they need to be asking?
Yeah. I mean, basically, the August is when the applications open in the Common App, right? And so nothing can be submitted before August, but when students arrive back in the fall, that's when a lot of them are going to have forgotten to do it. And then they're going to be asking for recommendation letters. Teachers, if they're going to take the time to write a good letter, they have to write it over the summer. They can't write it in the fall while they're starting up a school year and getting their lesson plans together and all that. So you've got to give them the summer to write it. And so you want to ask them before school lets out for the year. Also, they're hard to find in the summer, right? So you got to ask them before the school year gets out. You give them all this stuff. And what you do is basically you get it set up. You tell them you're going to do it. And then you start writing your essays. And what you'd like to do is send your first draft of the essay and your resume and your Clifton strengths, all that. You provide it to them and say, okay, here's what my essay is going to look like. Because you may think that these teachers know you well, but they don't know you well enough to like write an in-depth thing about you. You need to give them all the information you can. And so the timeline is ask them before summer begins, get their email, then send it to them in June or July, so they still have time to do it during the summer.
Hey, Bobby, is it cool to say, and I'd like you to highlight these specific things for me?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. And I want you to, as parents, really understand that the easier you make it for these people to write these letters, the better off you are. So, put some time into it, give your kids some ideas of maybe some of the things they can, the talents you see in them or the things that you see that they do well, because a lot of times they just don't see it themselves.
Oh, sure. And I mean, you may have one teacher that you actually do know well enough that they could just write it offhand about you, but you probably don't have multiple, right? So you're going to have to do this for at least one of your recommendation writers, right?
Yeah. So awesome. All right. Get to it, people. We put all the documents into the chat. And, if you've got any questions, Bobby is an incredible resource for this. Anything that you have on career questions, please reach out to me. We are here to help. So have a good one.
Yep, absolutely. See you next time.